Join me in my new series as we uncover 3 of the most horrifying crimes in each state. So each week we will discover a new state with new crimes, new fears, and new stories. Week 1, Arizona. In the summer of 1991, Phoenix, Arizona was struck by a series of shocking murders that would become known as the Phoenix Canal Murders. The first body was discovered on June 3, 1991, when a man walking his dog stumbled upon a gruesome scene. The body of a young woman had been dumped near the Arizona Canal. She had been shot in the head and left to die alone. Over the next few days, 4 more bodies were discovered, all dumped in the same area. Each victim had been shot and left to decompose in the hot Arizona sun. The police were stumped, with no leads or clues to help them identify the killer. The victims had no apparent connections to each other, and there was no apparent motive for the killings. The residents of Phoenix were gripped with fear, with many too afraid to walk near the canal for fear of becoming the killer's next victim. The Phoenix Canal Murders became one of the most notorious unsolved crimes in Arizona history. Despite intensive investigations, the case remained unsolved. The police interviewed dozens of suspects and pursued numerous leads, but the killer remained elusive. The families of the victims were left with no answers, and the community remained on edge, wondering if the killer was still out there, waiting to strike again. To this day, the Phoenix Canal Murders remain one of the most baffling and disturbing unsolved crimes in American history. The killer, whoever they may be, has never been brought to justice, and the families of the victims continue to wait for answers. The case serves as a reminder of the importance of solving crimes and bringing closure to victims and their loved ones. Number 2, the Baseline Killer. Between August 2005 and June 2006, Phoenix, Arizona was terrorized by a serial killer who came to be known as the Baseline Killer. The killer was responsible for a string of violent crimes, including 9 murders, 15 sexual assaults, and 11 armed robberies. The victims were men and women of all ages and races, making it difficult for the police to identify any patterns or connections between them. The Baseline Killer was a master of disguise, often changing his appearance and clothing to evade detection. He would strike at random, often targeting people in parking lots, bus stops, or other public areas. He was known to use a variety of weapons, including guns, knives, and hammers. The police launched a massive manhunt, with officers patrolling the streets day and night in search of the killer. They even enlisted the help of the FBI, who sent a team of profilers to help identify the killer's motives and patterns. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the Baseline Killer remained at large. The community was in a state of panic, with people avoiding public areas and staying indoors as much as possible. Finally, in September 2006, the police received a tip that led them to Mark Gudo, a former construction worker who lived in Phoenix. After a long and intense investigation, Gudo was arrested and charged with the Baseline Killer's crimes. At his trial, Gudo was identified as the Baseline Killer by several witnesses who had survived his attacks. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was eventually convicted and sentenced to death for his crimes. The Baseline Killer's reign of terror had come to an end, but the scars left on the community would last for years to come. The case stands as a reminder of the danger that lurks in the most ordinary of places, and the importance of remaining vigilant and aware of our surroundings. Number 3, the Tucson Massacre. On January 8, 2011, a political event was being held in a supermarket parking lot in Tucson, Arizona. The event was being attended by Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and several others when suddenly, gunshots rang out. In the chaos that followed, 6 people were killed, and 13 others were injured, including Giffords. The gunman, identified as Jared Lee Launer, had been lurking in the crowd and opened fire with a 9mm handgun. The event quickly turned into a massacre, with people running for cover and screaming in terror. Launer was tackled to the ground by bystanders as he tried to reload his weapon, and was later arrested by the police. It was later revealed that Launer had a history of mental illness and had been expelled from college for erratic and dangerous behavior. The Tucson massacre sent shockwaves through the country, with people struggling to come to terms with the senseless violence that had occurred. Giffords, who had been shot in the head, survived the attack but suffered severe brain damage and had to undergo intensive rehabilitation. As the investigation unfolded, more details about Launer's motives and actions were revealed. It was discovered that he had a fascination with conspiracy theories and had posted bizarre and disturbing messages on social media in the days leading up to the attack. Launer was eventually found guilty of murder and attempted murder, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Tucson massacre stands as a reminder of the devastating consequences of mental illness and the importance of ensuring that individuals receive the help they need before it's too late.